Welcome back. Welcome in. It's Country Roads Confidential at earsports.com. I'm Mike Casazza. This is a Paramount podcast. That's Chris Anderson. We're here during the open week, number two in West Virginia's football season. Here to, Chris, fast forward to the off season, which starts probably the moment the Texas Tech game ends next Saturday, if not sooner than that, if we're being realistic. People got their eyes in the portal. Coaches are openly talking about evaluating the roster just to get ready for unrolling their offseason plan when that time comes around, which again is not too far from here. So you and I kind of want to do a little bit about the finances involved here, kind of define some things, maybe clarify confusion or even misnomers, talk about some hard dollar figures that we think and know, some flexibility that the team may have that perhaps people don't understand, and where things go from here. Chris, do you ever think we'd be having these conversations in college sports? What's the salary cap for this college football team I cover?
I mean, it's felt like it's going this way for several years now. And I mean, if only we could just say salary cap, that would be fantastic, because then maybe everything would be on a little bit more of an even playing field. But things have certainly gotten here faster than expected. Because life was easier 10 years ago when it was like one or two grad transfers a year, and that was about it.
God, remember like when it was so strange that Ryan Mundy was at Michigan one year and then West Virginia the
Yeah.
next year? Like, how did this happen? What sorcery was this? Oh, he's a postgraduate transfer. A
I was,
what?
I was gonna say we could name them like every year. It's like, oh my God, Ryan Mundy. Oh my God, Sims. Like,
Yeah,
oh, whoa, where did that come from?
yeah.
Out of nowhere. Like,
And now I can't even name the people
yeah,
anymore.
it's like now
Like
you got
that's the
80 you
problem.
got to name. Right.
All right, so you mentioned the word salary cap, and that cracks me up because the phrase that's taking over now is above the cap. So we're already circumventing the salary cap that we don't even have
hmm
in our vernacular right now. So for for the layman here, so you may know this or you may want to become one. I'm not sure. You have two figures in college sports. You have your revenue sharing number, which is the fraction that your team is privy to out of a total pool of $20.5 million this year. And the way that West Virginia seniors have done this is figured out how much revenue your team produces, and then you get a corresponding chunk of that. So if you are cross country, you don't get any revenue because you don't produce any revenue. You may get a little bit because they're good. And Rem Baker thinks that Sean Cleary is like the pound for pound champ on campus. So maybe you give him a little bit. Football, by far the most revenue, by far the most revenue sharing in the account. That's kind of how that works. And that's your cap. So for football, my understanding is that about $12.5 million in revenue sharing goes there out of the 20 and a half. The remaining sports split the 8 million. So you can see how that goes. But who produces the most money? They should probably get the most money. I get that. And then you have above the cap, Chris, which is the money above that 20 and a half million. We used to call that NIL. It still is NIL. It's really scrutinized now. I'm starting to find out because of this NIL Go um, input system that red light, green lights deals. West Virginia is trying to work at that by having the gold blue enterprises, but money comes in there and then it can be distributed from there. So two different figures. And I'm guessing a third term now, which would be like total spend, which would be your revenue sharing figure and then your above the cap figure. And maybe that's your salary cap. Have I confused everybody on that, or is that a pretty clear explanation?
Well, let's start with the revenue sharing portion of this, because I think this is where let's clarify this, because it almost feels like that's not important, at least as far as in big boy football. And I say that because, as you noted, everybody's full revenue sharing for the whole university is the same. Like it's capped at the same. I mean, it's not necessarily the same. You can go up to, some schools might not to, but if you're a school that's not getting up to that point, you're not a school that West Virginia is worried about. So let's just be clear about that right now. They're not in the same stratosphere as West Virginia when we're talking about athletics. So the cap is the same. Everybody is on quote unquote equal footing with that number, give or take a little bit. Because as you said, the schools can decide how that's really divvied up. In some schools, they estimated 12 and a half for West Virginia's football team. There might be some universities that give it like 14 million for their football team, maybe a little bit less. You may see a school like, again, um, Villanova be like, yeah, we're going to give like 14 to basketball
Yeah.
and football is going to get one or two. But again, as far as the conversation that you and I are having right now, because we are going to be mostly focused on football with this conversation, that doesn't matter. Villanova's not important to this conversation. It would be important if we were having that conversation about basketball, but we're not. We're talking football right now. So, just to be clear for everybody that's listening, we talk revenue sharing, we talk those splits, we talk how the schools divvy it up. That number across the FBS or Power Four schools, I think is a good dividing line here, is basically the same.
Hmm.
Differences are negligible-ish. I mean, I guess no one's required to report that number, right? Like I'm not aware of any school that has been like, here's what I mean, maybe a couple of them, but it's not like a FOIA thing where you can just FOIA and be like, where's he spending all this money? Although we should. I'll leave that to you, FOIA master. But the differences here, if any, are like a million. So
Can I acquit myself for a second here? This
no.
FOIA slander, sir, is it's none of my business. It's really not. Um, like part of me was like, well, if they're sharing revenue from the university and there's like a student body fund that goes into revenue sharing, like they're public employees. Like it's no different than a professor. Like you could FOIA what I was making when I was teaching.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Um, but I don't know. Like you're talking, it's not even like it's a FERPA or not even FERPA. Yeah,
Yeah. Football.
just is it my business that the starting right tackle's making 300 grand? I don't know. I just, but I think that schools could be, I've already said this, they could be much more open about the money they have, the money they need, where it's going, and how it's being used. That they should be. They just should. So,
I mean, I'm on the boat that I don't care about the individual players, what they make. Like, I don't care. I mean, I do care. I don't think the school should. I do care because that's my job.
mhm.
Um, but I don't think the school should be required to report individual player payments. But I do think they should be required to say what their split is on the revenue sharing. Like, hey, out of the 20.5 million, this is what's going to football, this is what's going to basketball, this is what's going to baseball. I think that those line items should be public record.
So
But
proprietary though. Every school's different.
right.
But I want if they want to do that. But yeah, and that's one reason that you have it's not money laundering. It's not, but you have a Gold Blue enterprise that's taking the money in and cleaning it and like just it's becomes a foundation property basically like a thing that's going to be private. You're not going to get it because of the way it's structured. Fine, whatever. I get it. It also functionally works because it's a centralized hub for all their NIL stuff. I get it. Not a big deal. I do wonder if there's going to be like if there's some sort of annual, could be even random 5 letter word audit. I
Hmm.
wonder if you'd ever see results of that go for you. But then again, just internal investigations here don't often get out in public because those are private matters too. So I don't know. It's a lot of misunderstanding and sometimes things they take so many trips to the grapevine that they come out on the other side very different than what the reality was to enter, which is where the stuff gets dangerous and you hear some crazy stories. And sometimes it doesn't do the school any good to tell the truth because the fictionalized version of the story is much better for the school. Like this kid got $1 million to spend here, and Ren Baker's going, "No, he didn't. I'm not telling anybody he didn't, but no,
Yeah.
he didn't." Like, why would you correct the record there when it sounds like you got really deep pockets and you're spending like crazy? So anyways, that's where we kind of want to go on this, and it brings you to the central point from the past few weeks, Chris, which is the quarterback spot at West Virginia. With rare exceptions, that is your top dollar expense. You could probably think of the exceptions. Like if you have an amazing receiver, a Heisman Trophy winner coming back somewhere at like running back, there are going to be few exceptions. But I would say on the vast majority of the teams, your quarterback is going to be your top expense, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And if it's not the individual highest expense collectively, it probably is, even if you have fewer quarterbacks, because two or three guys are getting a lot of money. This is a big deal at West Virginia because money certainly was spent on retaining Nico Marchio, getting Jalen Henderson, probably also getting Max Brown, and I would say retaining Scotty Fox. Like this is a long time ago, but you and I both heard this in the spring, similar to a Dior Hubbard, but here we are again. Cannot let this guy go away. Like players knew Scotty Fox had it. They were excited about him. They just didn't know when it was going to be. But the coaches got that too. And here you are, Marchio, Henderson, Brown, all kind of falling off or actually never even gotten on the horse in some instances here. And Scotty Fox has taken the lead position here, and people just insist keep Scotty Fox, save on quarterback, sprinkle the difference over the rest of the roster. And here we are. I think that's a really dangerous premise to operate under because maybe not dangerous, but you're going to mislead yourself, I think, if you follow that as a straight arrow from financial freedom in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, one, let's say I don't mean to. I'm not trying to deviate from the Scotty Fox discussion because I know it's something that
If
we
you
were
don't
asked
like him,
about it. Everybody, we're
yeah, you
asked.
want to get rid of him.
Here's what's going to be weird is everybody's going to be like, "What?" Where I've said we don't know if he's the guy. I think I answered a mailbag earlier this week where I said he's a guy. I don't know if he's the guy yet. He could be the guy. He's not a jag, as the boys used to say on the board. He's not just another guy. He is a guy, a dude, if you will. Um, I am going to simultaneously say I'm not sure he's the guy, but he might also be the guy you're spending the most money to help retain from this year's roster. When we will get big picture and look at it, it is possible for those two things to be true. Like, and it goes to your point of it's the budget of the entire QB room. That is the crux of what we're discussing here.
Mhm.
And again, because there's 7 quarterbacks, right? 7 quarterbacks that are on the roster, 8. All of them technically could come back. Um, I think we were asked one time to set an over under in that. What do we want to set the over under at? 2.5 out of those 7 or 8?
Mhm.
2.5. So you're going to have to replenish that room. And you got Jaron Hewley, you got Wyatt Brown, two very good high school quarterbacks. There's 2. Maybe you keep 2. That's 4. Still need 3 more. Like need might be a little bit strong, but you still want a couple more. I mean, we've already seen West Virginia just roll through quarterbacks, and guess what? The offense ain't changing.
Nope.
The quarterbacks are still going to be running. Rich Rodriguez is still going to talk about making teams defend 11. So you're going to need an extra quarterback or 2 added to it, and that means more money spent for other guys. Whether you think that other guy is going to be the surefire starter, a competitor for Scotty Fox, or just another Jag. You need more quarterbacks, and you're gonna have to spend to get them.
Incoming recruiting class, Wyatt Brown,
Jaron Hewley, yeah,
so so 2.
yeah.
Um, that's yeah. So the math is going to be really interesting here too. So let's just talk about the Fox situation for a second. Power four starter. Can't dispute that. He's going to start 6 games at the Power Four level this year. Power Four starter is going to have good enough stats, history, accolades, momentum, whatever, to be brought back at a price tag here. Again, there's no way I'm letting him get away unless
All
it
right,
gets out of
let's
control.
start here. We'll say replacement player, starting QB. I'm not calling him that. I'm making foundations and steps for us to build his price tag, if you will.
Mhm.
What would you say a replacement player level quarterback, starting quarterback at the Power Four level? Where are we starting at here? Sorry,
Well, I would not say,
four.
Chris. I called around. I asked some people about this
Oh,
stuff. Okay. Um,
you did research. You did
I did.
journalism. What the hell?
Yeah. So Chandler Morris,
Okay.
well traveled
Mm-hmm.
at UVA this year, right?
Sure. I don't know. He's well traveled. I don't know where he's at.
$1 million.
Holy, what?
That's the word on the street. And like that wasn't their like they lost Anthony Colandrea to I mean he left. He wasn't gonna be there anymore, but tell me that didn't work out for
Yeah.
UVA. So that's kind of the ballpark you're looking at there. And the 1, 2, 3 people I talked to around a million easy is like your power four start if you're bringing them from somewhere too. What do you think the word is on Fox? Well, here's one too. 6 games, true freshman, good stats. Is he at a level right now where West Virginia or a school in a power four, this is me asking the question, should be worried about him getting poached? Yes.
Yes. Can I ask you a
That was the
question?
answer. Yes.
Yes. Can I ask you a question to your, well, question that we both just answered in agreement? Him being a freshman helps, right? Like, I mean, it's obviously means there's still room for growth. Like, he's not a finished product. He's not like a Chandler Morris, who you're like, hey, I know what I'm getting. I know I'm getting this. Sorry for you guys that are listening. I'm doing it visually. I know I'm getting this. You're getting this for Scotty Fox, a little bit lower, but you still got 3 more years. So are the 3 more years worth more than the ready-made? Again, it's like, are you buying the potential? Do you think the market is buying the potential or the 1 year rental fee? Because I feel like quarterbacks, you're paying more for like the 1 year premium than you are really for the potential of 2 or 3 years.
So that's the Morris problem here too, because that's a guy who's is probably not your top. I don't know, is he a top 20 quarterback in the portal?
Mm.
But that coach had to have a lifesaver and
Yeah.
had to spend. I don't think Fox is that guy. I asked, again, part of the conversation. I don't think anybody thinks that a CFP team or a fringe CFP team is going to go get Scotty Fox to be the guy to get him over. But maybe a coach is in his second year, or a coach has got something going and knows him, or says, I can do something here. Or I need a quarterback, and maybe he could be one of two in our room. Like if SMU, for example, hypothetically here, they're going to lose a good quarterback and they want to get somebody in there for the future who can do some things. Maybe they spend, and they have money and they can do this. They spend on two really good quarterbacks, something like that. I'm not sure that Alabama, I think that was a name used before. It was a hypothetical, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure a major CFP team is coming and getting Scotty Fox. But the question here was just very simply like, do you worry about it? Yeah. Like you worry about quarterbacks. They are commodities. They are problem solvers. They are lifesavers. They are contract extensions. All that stuff is true. So that's the deal there. So now let's just say that West Virginia is doing the right thing here, not letting him go. He's not going to leave Morgantown. We're going to do everything we can to get him. He's their Tim Brown in the offense. Excuse me, their Kevin Brown in the offensive backfield, right? We're going to make sure that we get this done. Survey people. What do you think the number is here? Because I think a lot of people think that you're getting a hometown discount or a discount, and then and I've seen this everywhere on the board and in conversations. Take the difference and spend it on the offensive line. Take the difference and replace players in the secondary. I get it. But I wonder what those people think Scotty Fox is going to make next year.
Yeah. I think, well, I know the answer that you're going to tell because you and I talked before we got
Yeah.
on the pod, but I think my honest to God answer would have been before that conversation, 500 probably would have been my number.
Okay.
So what is it?
All right. One person here. I'll get the exact phrasing here. 750 for Fox. This one here, you have to remember, Power Four starters are starting at around $1 million. If they're quality players, and especially they have time ahead of them, I would say right now, conservatively 800,000 for a player in his situation. Coming back, knowing the system, there's still value there. So you're talking $800,000. And if this gets into a tug of war, it goes up.
Yeah.
I wonder if that makes people arch their brows and go, "Oh no, I did not see that coming. I thought it was going to be 400,000. I thought he would take less to come." Again, I don't think that is what it is. I read this before somewhere too. I wonder, I wonder what the Venn diagram is for Scotty Fox or anybody would take a hometown discount and Neil Brown will negotiate his buyout. I just those are probably people who just maybe need to be clued in about how this works nowadays too. Like Fox, this is free agency. Fox would be silly to just like take a smaller number here too, and he's not like Tom Brady where they're saying, "Hey, we'll give you more money in the back end, help us spend money now." It doesn't really work that way. These are by and large 1 year deals, even if they're 2 year deals too. So yeah, you're looking at like $800,000 for a starting quarterback like a Scotty Fox right now, which is a big chunk of money.
Yeah, so I don't, yeah, I'm with you. Not expecting a discount. I mean, the next biggest factor, I think you can get in the realm of the same money. Like you don't necessarily have to be the same or above. You can't be too far below, of course. But if you're in the same realm money wise, it's obviously going to come down to for this position, especially playing time. Like, I mean, he's not going to go somewhere. Again, he's not going to go to some school that already has a quarterback in place.
Hmm.
Like even if that school is like, hey, we'll pay you 1 million instead of 800,000. He's just not going to go there if there's already a returning starter.
Agreed.
So you're gonna like again, and this is where if I'm West Virginia, like again, hey, you're acting right now as Scotty Fox's agent. I'm going to act as West Virginia's agent or negotiator, lead negotiator, whoever's doing those negotiations. I'm going to say, all right, there's 68 teams, right, in Power Four, Notre Dame 69. with Notre Dame.
SMU 70.
70. So you got 70 teams that are good, are the football quality caliber that you are looking for. How many of those 70 have their quarterback probably coming back next year? Half?
Yeah,
30?
that's I would start at half and probably say it's less than that because so many 1 year people and so
All
many
right.
replacements.
So let's say 30 of them. So we're down to 40 teams. Out of those 40 teams, let's say 20 of them, 15 of them aren't going to spend 800 to $1 million on a quarterback maybe, or wouldn't view Scotty Fox to fit their system and be worth the amount of money that West Virginia would spend on him. So now you're down to 25 teams. Out of those 25 teams, some of them are going to look at the transfer portal and have Scotty Fox ranked 11th, 12th, 15th, 18th on their list of guys that they're going to go. So again, this I'm not doing the I'm being a little overly negative here because I'm playing the role of West Virginia's lead negotiator here of why I don't think the price should be that much higher than what we've set it at of the 700 grand. Like,
Mhm.
hey, how many teams are we truly negotiating against if you're West Virginia? Like three, two? Like I just don't think, and that's not a Scotty Fox thing. That is just a reality of the position sort of thing. And when you have kind of very specific skill sets for very specific offenses.
Mhm. Okay. Speaking of negotiations, West Virginia might be wise to have another quarterback in the room. It depends on who leaves. For example, um, if Max Brown is like, I'm tired of moving, I want to come back, and Khalil Wilkins is like, I have a future, and by the way, I started a game here. If they don't leave, I'm not sure you add another quarterback.
Yeah.
Let's say it doesn't work out that way. They go in. I have shared on the board a name that I've heard. I'm not gonna say it here because that's proprietary too, right? But it's a
Yeah.
name that's starting to get some buzz at that campus and also around here. Good player, FCS, quarterback. So I asked, hey, what about this person? I was told he's among a host of FCS that could leave. I imagine if he's coming in to start, it'll be 800 plus.
Oh, get out. No way. I wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't spend that. No.
Okay. Now, now it's different if they tell them otherwise that they will compete. If that's understood, it's probably 400 to 600, but only if they each agree to it. So that would mean Fox and this person.
Yeah.
That's how complicated these things get. That said, that is the extreme. Another person I talked to said that the FCS quarterback is probably the 250 or 300 range. So you see there's a big chasm there. And
Yeah.
this is part of like, again, these things go through the grapevine and they're very different. So if Fox is if Fox is 800, let's say that there's West Virginia wants to be good. They don't want to mess around with this. They want to plant the flag. He's their guy. There's some conversation on the outside, and they just say 800. 800. Okay. Where's the sprinkle, Chris? Where's the extra money that you're saving by retaining your quarterback and not going to the portal and replacing him and putting that money somewhere else? So hypothetically, it's $1 million to get a quarterback. West Virginia has saved 200 grand. That's
Maybe
not going to
because
get
they
you.
might be spending 200 grand on that FCS guy to come compete too. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they had to retain Wilkins at above his market value or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's minimal. And let's just say it's 200,000. Let's just say that's a number. Like they do the red and black numbers and they say, you know what? We end up banking 200 grand on this. You're getting the backup offensive lineman.
Right.
You're getting somebody, you're that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, with that money as a one-time expense, you're getting an offensive lineman for less than they gave starting offensive lineman this year.
Right. I would say that's a discussion that you and I have had, and I think we've had it here on the podcast. I've certainly put it on the board, but we've heard those numbers because, and Rich Rodriguez has said it, not the exact numbers, but he said, we pay starters. We pay like the guys that get on the depth chart that get starting jobs will get paid out of that revenue sharing money, and you'll get paid accordingly. I think the example he gave was, you're going to pay the quarterback more than you're going to pay the backup left guard or something like that. But the number that I heard very specifically in a very specific conversation was 200 to $250,000 for a starting offensive lineman. So yeah, I mean you're going to be you said if there's only 200 grand. I mean, and again, here's the question: Are you and some of these guys they're not getting a lot of money up front. If you tell a guy, hey, if you come here and you start, you'll get 250 grand. That doesn't mean you're paying him 250 grand. That means you're
Better
telling
start.
him
Yeah.
If you come here and if you win the starting job, then you get paid. So there's some guys that also will need money before then. Now, there's a large debate about what that money is, and I think it varies wildly depending on the player. The better the player, the more money they're going to get up front, regardless. Some guys, it's going to be like next to nothing, 10 grand, 15 grand maybe. And then it's like, hey, you could earn an extra this if you can get to the two deep and so on. Because I haven't heard it specifically about West Virginia, but I've heard in some of these conversations with other schools they don't fully go into the you must be starting thing, but if you make the too deep kind of thing. And again, I think we've had these
Yep.
questions like, what if you got co-starters? What if you got or all over the depth chart? Yada yada yada. How do you pay these guys? I know for a fact, like Ohio State, they pay on the depth chart. It's like, hey, you make the too deep, you're going to get paid. I don't know what the numbers are, but you make the too deep, you get paid out of the rev share. There you go. And so I think that's going to be a discussion for a lot of guys. And yeah, if it's less than if the money you have left over from savings is less than what they were paying offensive linemen this year for the offensive line that West Virginia has, it ain't much, Mike. It ain't much.
So let's go into some of the contract stuff here too, because this is a great segue to that. I don't know that. I mean, they have these deals for NIL stuff, and for example, like we talked about this in Nico Marchio. If you get hurt playing, you're gonna get your money. That's not your fault.
Right.
Now, if you're riding a scooter somewhere and you flip it and you break your leg, mm, that might get contested. But if you hurt your foot, your leg, your ankle, whatever, playing for the team, you're going to get taken care of there. Now you're going to have to meet certain conditions, like you're going to have a doctor sign off, a WVU doctor saying yes, this is a legitimate injury. You can't just be like, oh, like Al Cervic, my shoulder, I'm hurt, I can't go. Right? There's going to have to be something a little bit more genuine than that to get it. But there are conflicting reports that I get from people, and I don't think the WVU is going to open the books and let us know this. But yeah, you play if you're healthy. That's pretty much a standard. But are there buyouts for exiting early? I don't know. Like I think it's going to be really strange to make a player give back money because he left early. Like I don't know if that works.
Have we already seen like instances of that, of like schools like trying to or companies trying to, claw back some of the money from deals they've done with players that transferred? I feel like that's
So
happened already.
there are some conversations here about if I have a 2 year deal with you, Chris,
Right.
and I breach it after 1 year to go, where would I go? Let's just say right for the Dominion Post because I once did that before, right? Um, I might not be able to make money with them until they have paid you,
Right.
if that makes sense. So that could be something there. But I also think that like the structure that we're talking about here, if I start 6 games and you start 6 games, but you start the final 6 games, are you the starting player at that position, even though we both started the same amount of games? So how do you do that? And I think this is so wild right now that schools are really hesitant to put things in ink because it could cost them a lot of money. Like, wait a minute, we're both starters. We both get starter money. We both started the same amount of games, played similar snaps. I got hurt and lost my starting spot, and you got the starting spot because I got hurt. What's the difference here? So there's things like that you have to do and figure out what's the future here. And I don't know how you do that right now too. Um, but back to quarterback
Okay.
because why not? The bigger deal to me that people are missing, and this goes beyond quarterback, and you can fill in the blanks for me on this one too. It's not how much Fox makes; it's how much you commit to Markio Henderson Brown in 2026. If they leave, and again, I don't know why they would come back at this point unless they just don't want to move or they really like it here, which is possible. But players play, and two of those guys are here for a chance to play, and one stayed for a chance to play. That being in order, Henderson, Brown, and Markio. I don't know why they'd be back. If it's clear Fox is going to be the guy or he's going to be the central figure. That's 7 figures that comes off the books, though, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an over exaggeration of reality.
No, I don't either. And that was something you and I talked about before we hopped on here was like, hey, when you're talking big picture stuff, again, I think some of this discussion we're having right now, other than the starting, a lot of this is the what'd you call it, above the cap number. This is the above the cap funds that we're talking about here. Some of those are going to be freed up if they're made available. I mean, I
Big ones.
like because I'll ask this question in a minute, but let's talk about it. Who are the guys that got paid the most to come or stay at West Virginia? Jamori Robinson,
Yeah.
Michael Coates, Nico Marchio, Jalen Henderson. It is very, very likely that all four of those guys will be gone. And that
Hmm.
will free up, I assume, all of that money there. Here's the problem. I don't know if we can assume that like fully. Like I think, realistically you say, hey, that's money we're not spending now, we can spend it on somebody else, but this isn't an ongoing donation from a lot of these guys. Like let's take our old friend Pat McAfee, for instance. Let's say that he commits $1 million. Just I think probably commits more than that. I'm just throwing a number here. He commits $1 million. He's not saying, I don't think, lock me in for 1 million a year every year for the next 20 years. I think a lot of these conversations, I mean, I think some of these conversations are probably 2 or 3 years, but it's like, hey, here's $1 million for this year. What I'm saying is West Virginia, the university, Golden Blue Enterprises, they have to go out, and Rich Rodriguez, the coaching staff, all the people, they have to go out and re-recruit this money again. Like they have to reacquire it. They have to reacquire the salary cap every year. This isn't like the NFL where you just assume you're going to spend all the money because the revenue from your season ticket holders and your concessions paid for it and you still made money. West Virginia has to go out and solicit donations to rebuild that cap every single year,
Mm.
which I, then we get in a larger picture of how sustainable is this whole model. But, hey, just just sell it off to private equity and worry about it 30 years down the road when somebody else owns the university,
And
right?
don't forget, 20.5 million goes up 4% too.
Yeah.
So that's nothing. Chris, here's some last year players, like not juniors, not players with eligibility left. These are last year players that I think are sizable names, right? For like that'll come off the books. Jordan Scruggs, Walter Youngbear.
Wait, is Jordan Scruggs done? I think I was looking this up when we were going the other day because I
Wait,
think
what?
he's played three. Has he only played 3 years or has he played four? Because one of the years he was at junior college. Sorry, I'm going to derail us right in the middle of like a
All right.
bigger
So
conversation.
my understanding though is that that rule only works for players who would have been out of eligibility and got the extension this year,
Oh,
which
okay.
does not
So
work for
he
him.
does not count. Yeah, I was going to say because he had redshirted 21 and then Central Missouri junior college in 23. Played at South Alabama in 24, West Virginia in 25. So if the
So
junior
if
college thing was in play, he had one more year, but if
yeah.
not, then he's done.
So there are guys like Tarnu and Barnes that would have been out of eligibility at the end of last season. They got the year back because of one junior college year. I don't think that's been played forward yet. Anyways,
Okay.
let's skip him. Okay, Walter Youngbear, Henderson can come back. Tykes Crawford, Jordan Walker was probably a significant one. I'm trying to think here. Derek Carter, Devontae Golden Nelson, Fred Perry, Michael Coates, Jason Chambers, Jamori Robinson, Kimo Makanioli,
Chase Wilson,
Chase Wilson, Jalen Knight, and there's another one. Kind of getting slim here. Darian Lewis,
Jay
Carson
Weimer.
Lee. Not sure about Weimer being big money, but like those are that's a lot of
Yeah.
names. So like even let's throw them in. Like I'm saying, oh, they weren't big money. There's probably a couple dollar bills in there involved, and you add those small ones up, they become bigger. So if you think about who's coming off the books, they probably are due a little bit left here before the end. Some of that may come from that nest egg they save of like the 5 million or whatever it was, 4-ish million. And then also that goes toward retention, but they're in a pretty good spot there too. And then how will this look in the future? If they're at 12.5-ish million this year, that's the number I think. That's never been shared, but like if I'm doing the math in the formula and just things I've heard, about 12 and a half. I think their NIL was about flat from last year, so about 3.5. You're talking like 16-ish million, maybe like 16.5 million. Everything I've heard, Chris, consistently, they are determined to get to 20 million for football next year. That's a big difference. That's $3.5 million. That's exactly the amount I had, the amount of money they had in NIL this year. So if you're doubling that, that's a really good spot. And then you're starting more money than you had. You have maybe fewer holes to fill. So you have some large numbers coming off the book. You just don't happen to have a discounted quarterback. But I'm not even meaning that to be a negative. What I'm saying is that if that reality is true and you're not saving a huge sum of money on quarterback, you're okay because of some money that becomes up free, because you've raised your ceiling and again, essentially doubled the amount of above the cap money. I don't think it'll get to Rich Rodriguez's 10 million, but if they got to 65% of that, that's probably pretty healthy. If they did even better than that, kudos to them. That's great. My point is they're in a good spot, irrespective of quarterback. And it's not a bad thing to have Scotty Fox back and know that's your player going into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think there would be a lot of teams. Again, when we say 70 teams, out of those 70 teams, there's probably 35 to 40 that would 30, well, maybe that might be strong, 30 that would be envious of West Virginia's situation. Envious might be a bit strong, but hey, they have several million above the cap funds plus a quarterback that is at least a dude coming back. And I think, yeah, I think a lot of teams would prefer to be in that situation than whatever situation they end up in this offseason.
How does this affect recruiting? Because what August 1, you can start talking NIL deals with people. The revenue sharing is part of the conversation, and West Virginia reeled in a pretty big fish on Tuesday afternoon. How does this play at the grassroots level?
It's conversations for guys like Kevin Brown, the big fish you referenced. Like those are conversations they're having. You'll probably have some of those slightly smaller conversations with like a Jaron Hewley, um, because quarterback and him being an elite athlete. For the most part, the vast majority of these guys, it's going to be more of conversations. Hey, I say the old school conversations from way back when, like 2 or 3 years ago, where you make a presentation of how they can earn NIL money with local businesses. Because I just don't think it's that big of a conversation for your, I'm going to say the word average recruit, but you're not average. If you're getting recruited at the high level of Power Four football, then you're not average. But for an average Power Four recruit, you're not getting that kind of money. You're not even really
Mhm.
talking about it much. So it's certainly come up in conversations with Kevin Brown. For those that are VIP members, we kind of broke down a little bit of that of what we heard and what West Virginia was at and around and what they were competing with against Penn State and against Ohio State. And, you know, that's big money. That's big money. This is high school recruiting is you are spending 95% of your budget on like three or four guys. And then the other 30, you're just hoping to come on in and maybe they can earn some later.
If college sports are minor league for pro sports now, what's high school? High school college?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. That's an extraordinary number for a college offensive or high school offensive lineman.
Yeah,
That
well,
that we were, I mean, we've heard it consistently from the very beginning, and it seemed, and like again, it's a great thing for West Virginia to one, again, not just be in the ring, but to be in the fight with those schools, because the perception is that West Virginia can't, won't, shouldn't, and it turned out that the other teams couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, and West Virginia ends up again with the big fish that they needed there too, which is fine. Let's wrap it up on this, Chris. We've talked a lot about players going out because they're out of eligibility or might be out of eligibility. Who the heck even knows anymore? There are a number of, even in the darkness of this season, there have been bright spots and players that you're saying, okay, similar to a Fox in the spring.
yep.
Who do you keep? Where do you focus on? I'm not going to ask you to rank your favorite
Draft,
players.
draft, draft,
Okay, that's
draft, draft.
the.
Come on,
So, all right.
draft.
All right. So, how about this? You're in the retention part of the recruiting office or the
Okay.
NIL office. I don't know how it's structured, but it sounds like they have a player for every, or a assistant or a staffer for every scenario. And retention is huge. If you're if you're doing a top line on your flow chart here, where do you begin with players that, hey, Rich, hey, Chuck Lilly, we got to be serious about these guys because A, they're very good, or B, somebody will come in to the conversation and make this difficult for us.
Scotty Fox.
Sure.
Like, there you
Yeah.
go. Like, I'm like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, I'm going to tell you West Virginia needs to go out and recruit another quarterback in the transfer portal, and I'm also going to tell you he's the most important player for them to retain. So I maintain that to be true. It's a weird dichotomy, but it is, but they are both true at the same time. Um, Next, and this may sound crazy just because the unit has been so bad, but is Nick Cray at the top of the list? A left tackle that's not bad. I mean, he's been, according to PFF numbers, average. And like to be honest, like my eyes when I watch the game, I'm not like blown away with him pancaking dudes, but I'm also not. like watching him whiff on blocks like you're seeing at some of the other spots on the offensive line. And he's got 2 years remaining. Is that right?
Redshirt
So
sophomore.
you a left tackle that's a redshirt sophomore that is again, like I'm not saying he's like all world. I'm focused on offense by the way too. I haven't even started looking at the defense yet, but I feel like that's got to be it. I mean, we always have the conversation quarterback, offensive tackle, and edge rushers. Those are the three most important spots. So yeah, quarterback Scotty Fox, left tackle Nick Cray.
Anybody on defense?
Let's see. Those are my top two. I don't know. Was there anybody that I would have taken on defense over Cray? I mean, Fox is number one no matter what.
Are we calling Curtis Jones a running back now? Because I think 4 weeks ago he was a
I
must-have.
can already see how you're going to cheat on next year's draft for our 2D. I can
Well,
already
just
tell what's happening.
again, just 3 weeks ago we were saying you had to have him at Bandit because he could play Bandit, he could play Sam. I just don't think he's a full-time running back. I don't think that's going to make the switch. I think I'd probably make sure he's on my team next year too.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing many other guys on defense. Like again, they really senior laden, like went out and hit the transfer portal and got seniors all over the place. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean he might be the guy on defense. That
All right, let me
that
let me bounce some names off you from the recruiting class because you mentioned this in our Monday podcast, but there are some players who are on this team that just haven't played a whole lot. So like the very top of your signing class last year, Taylor Brown, Dwayne Galloway. Haven't seen them at all this year.
no.
They're not busts. Do you make sure you have them? And again, I'm thinking those two, Chamarius Bomar. I think Brandon Caesar was up there in the class too. Horton was hurt all year. But like that's your five best recruits in that class. In fact, those are the five best recruits in the class because uh, Jean Charles never played here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Would you like me to tell you? Let me wager you $100, Michael, that if you ask Rich Rodriguez next Tuesday who stood out during the open week scrimmages of the young guys, I bet you he doesn't name a single name because that's what he did last time. I think somebody asked him and he was like, "Yeah, it was great. It was a good scrimmage. Lots of
yeah,
guys did well. Some areas we need more help." Okay.
okay,
It's going
okay.
to be the same thing. Because, yeah, I think you need to retain those guys. Those are two spots, defensive line and the secondary, where you're losing a lot of dudes and you need the depth. And you can't hope to just go out and hit. Because, I mean, in the secondary, if you're going to rely on the portal and the portal only, you are going to have to hope to go like 5 for 5. Like you're going to have to get 5 transfers, and all 5 are going to have to contribute in some form or fashion. Defensive line may not be as egregious of a need, but it's still going to be a few because losing Visterinen too, right?
Mm.
Like not just a couple of the transfers, but Visterinen too. You're going to be in a tough spot with depth there unless you go out and get some other guys.
And then just some interesting names on offense, Chris. Hubbard, Bowers, White.
Yeah, I mean, you want to retain them, but this is the same conversations where it's like, hey, let me put on my I'm the negotiator for West Virginia hat. Who's paying you? Yeah, you just show me an offer. Show me an offer sheet from whatever Power Four school sent you an offer.
Mhm.
And this is nothing against them, but how many schools are going to be paying for? And again, we've been very clear. A lot of what has the struggles in the run game is on the offensive line, not the running backs.
Yeah.
But are other schools like doing that kind of depth and going to still pay over market for them or even market for them? I don't think so. So yeah, I'm taking a pretty hard line stance if I'm West Virginia on those guys. I like those guys. I want to keep them, but
Mhm.
I'm just not spending big money there.
Ryan Ward.
Yeah, of course, he's my pick for the freshman playing the most, so you better. What's the update on that? How close are we?
Yeah.
Hubbard might have had a comeback and taken over, right?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Then
way over.
11
Three
snaps last game didn't help.
307 now. You still have 300 snaps to 200 snaps, so you
Yes,
got
got
it.
a chance. Maybe get some overtime next game. We'll see. And then again, we talked about this Monday, and I think I probably overthought this. I want Cam Vaughn on my team. I'd rather have him on my team than some other team.
Yeah.
Just there's a lot to like there. And then I don't know what the issues are. I'm not sure it's issues. We're talking 30 something catches, 500 something yards, 4 touchdowns for a team that doesn't pass the ball that well that often. I think there's somewhere to go, especially if Fox is back and those two spend an entire offseason together. I'd make sure I spend on that one too. I think he's your best receiver potentially for the next 2 years. I don't know
Hmm.
why you would let that get away. I think I would probably try really hard. I'm not saying I would shut the door on other guys because they're going to need receivers for sure. I expect them to probably find somebody else to play opposite him above if they can get like a Weimer level player for an entire season, like Weimer's really come on, but if they could find that compliment outside, that's fine. But I would feel much better about that if I had Vaughn back. Again, he could be your best receiver for 2 more years. And if Fox is your quarterback, those two could really grow. I've come around that pretty quickly.
Here you go, Mike. I'm West Virginia's negotiator. You're Cam Vaughn's agent. I walk into your office and I say, "All right, 2 years, $900,000, heavily backloaded, no bonuses for starting because we assume you're going to start."
I'm probably doing that because that makes my quarterback expense worth it too.
Yeah,
But also, I'd be like, you know what, Cam, you're gonna be so good. Why make it 2 years? Let's make it one.
go to the NFL.
You're that good. You blow up next year, you're gone. We're all good. We all win that situation.
Yeah, I
A
say,
player option.
yeah, we'll give you a play. Yeah, we'll give you a mutually agreed upon option after 1 year. If you go in the NFL draft, we will. We're good.
All right. Well, hopefully that solves more problems than it caused and alleviates more confusion than it creates. And if we failed, let me know. Throw some comments in, ask some more questions because again, we might have opened up some cans that we didn't realize we did, or maybe we thought we cleared something up, and instead we brought in clouds over it too. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions and confusion about this stuff that can get you on the wrong side of the thought track here because I think West Virginia's in a good spot and is going in the right direction. I just wonder if people are too enthusiastic about it sometimes, i.e., save a lot of money on quarterback. But I also don't think a big expense on quarterback derails everything that they have going for them.
Yeah. Hmm.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Sounds good. Get ready for an off week from football, but a big weekend of basketball. So
Friday, Sunday.
we'll see what they're made of, I guess. I don't know. Ross Hodge said on the post game radio after Monday's game, said they're ready for it. Doesn't know if they're going to go down there and get their butts whooped, but they're ready for a trip and a tougher opponent. So we'll see.
Great job in the schedule. I mean, they've done this 2 games in 3 days thing before. They played some good teams. They're ready to go. Like, and they'll have more for the first time too. So that'll Moore. They'll have chance more for the first time too. So I think that was a good job by, I'm sure, the collective effort of building a schedule because everything they do is collective over there too. So kudos to them. That's all I have. That's all you have, Chris.
Yep.
All right. Again, more comments, confusions, throw them in the section here below, and we'll try to answer. If we did make a mess, we'll clean it up. Other than that, until next time, I'm Mike Casazza.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We will talk to you then.